is it that in 2026, a biological process responsible for the continuation of the human race is still treated like a secret to be kept? From digital shaming to global period hunts, the silence surrounding menstruation isn't just uncomfortable, it's a violation of human rights. Today, we're tearing down the shroud and dismantling the stigma that says our biology is too much information, or TMI. This is Kick Cramps as the podcast. It's time to get loud. If a world champion menstruating athlete can win a title while bleeding, why is the rest of the world still too grossed out to talk about it? We've seen the comments, we've seen the TMI labels, and today we're calling it what it is: ignorance. We're moving beyond the euphemisms and reclaiming our dignity on a global scale. I'm Brittany Walker, and the conversation starts right now.
They been cramping my style all week. Craving chocolate trees, checking pants, checking seeds, sipping herbal tea, and fight for menstrual equity. Sheesh. Hey, I kick cramps ass. 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 You're now tuned in to the Kick Cramps Ass podcast with your host, Brittany Walker, advocating for menstrual equity, period poverty, and womb wellness. New episodes on Menstruation Mondays.
Happy Menstruation Monday, beautiful beings. You are listening to Season 4, Episode 8 of Kick Cramps Ass, the podcast. Today is May 25th, and as we move closer to Menstrual Hygiene Day, we are zooming out to look at the global landscape of menstrual equity. We often talk about the biological and the psychological, but today we are deep diving into the social. Specifically, we are talking about the shame barrier. Why is it in 2026 a natural biological process, one that is literally responsible for the continuation of the human race, is still met with eye rolls, TMI warnings, and labels like disgusting or unnecessary? Today, we are discussing why normalizing this conversation isn't just about comfort, it's about human rights. We are going to look at how global perspectives vary and, most importantly, how we can dismantle the ignorance and hate talk that keeps menstruators in the shadows. To center our minds, let's move to our I am power statement for today. We like to kick off each episode with the I am power statement, with I representing inspiration, A representing affirmations, and M representing manifestations. And the I am power statement for today is: I am a carrier of dignity. My biology is not a secret to be kept, but a reality to be respected. I choose to speak my truth with authority and dismantle shame with education. And we like to give a quote of the day. And today's is: menstrual equity is not just a luxury, it is the floor upon which the house of gender equality is built. You cannot have a seat at the table if you are forced to hide the very biology that brought you there. And that's by me. Now, before we dive in, we're going to go ahead and take a sip of our good old Cramp elixir. We're going to cut to our first commercial break, and we will be right back with you. Tired of clunky remote recordings? Level up with Riverside FM Pro. Get studio quality audio and video, effortless editing with powerful AI tools, and seamless live streaming and collaboration. Become a pro of Riverside.fm and unlock the full potential of your content. Sign up today and make your voice heard. Visit the link in the description of this episode to discover more. Now, back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break. We hope that you enjoyed it. Now let's get into the heart of it. We hear it all the time from colleagues, friends, and even family members. That's too much information. Or can we talk about something else? That's gross. When people, men and women alike, label menstruation as disgusting or unnecessary to discuss, they aren't just expressing a preference. They are reinforcing what we call the social weathering effect. That is the idea that constant exposure to social stigma and exclusion actually weathers the body, leading to chronic stress and physical health decline. Now, when we tell a young student that their period is gross, we are teaching them that their body is a source of shame. This leads to self objectification, where you view your body as an outsider would as something to be hidden or managed rather than a vessel of strength. This is why we see a lower pain threshold in those who feel shamed. They are less likely to seek help or conditions like PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or endometriosis because they've been conditioned to believe that their suffering should be silent. Now, to see this play out in real time, we only have to look at the recent viral news surrounding world champion boxer Alicia Baumgartner. She recently won a world title on her period, a feat of incredible physical and mental fortitude. Yet, when the story hit the mainstream, with our actual post reaching over 1.7 million views, many comments in the section didn't just celebrate her victory, it became a breeding ground for shaming. Look at these comments. You see men and unfortunately menstruators themselves claiming this is unnecessary information. I had to block and report a few individuals because of the abusive language used in their initial comment and to other responders, and we're not taking any disrespect. Now, these comments are the digital equivalent of the period hut. They are telling a world class athlete that her biological reality is a distraction or a disgusting detail that should have been scrubbed from her success story. When we shame a champion for acknowledging her cycle, we are telling every young menstruator watching her physical excellence is only acceptable if it's sterile and bloodless. Now, the digital hate talk is just the modern version of age old exclusion. Think about global exile. In some cultures, menstruators are still exiled to period huts labeled as impure or toxic to the community. Professional contraband. In the West, we might not have huts, but we have the sleeve tuck. We hide tampons in our sleeves as we walk to the restroom as if they are contraband, filling the professional ick factor. Or the legislative barrier. This ignorance is the ultimate barrier to menstrual equity. If we can't talk about it, we can't legislate for it. We cannot demand free products in schools or workplace accommodations if the people in power, the school boards, and the CEOs are too uncomfortable to even say the word period. By refusing to let people label our biology as TMI, we are reclaiming the narrative. We are saying that if a menstruator can win a world title while bleeding, the least the rest of the world can do is get comfortable with the word. The data shows that we see in Alicia's comments isn't just internet trolling, it's a documented trend. The reality of this cultural policing is backed by sobering data from the 2025 State of the Period study, a large scale national poll conducted by the Harris Poll and Period.org, which tracks how menstrual stigma is actually weaponized against young people. The findings reveal a distressing trend. Despite a louder public conversation around wellness, 62% of teens report that society explicitly teaches them to be ashamed of their periods, marking a 2-point increase since 2023, while an alarming 75% of respondents agree that a persuasive negative association persists, branding periods as inherently gross or unsanitary. The impact of this stigma is not distributed equally, as the study explicitly highlights that Black and lower income students feel this shame more intensely within sports and extracurricular spaces. This data directly mirrors the digital hate talk faced by the world champion boxer Alicia Baumgartner. It proves that even when a menstruating individual reaches the absolute pinnacle of elite physical success, the social environment continues to reinforce the narrative that their body is subpar, dramatic, or a source of public discomfort. You could bridge this research directly to the Baumgartner social media screenshots in your script by stating, the data shows that what we see in Alicia's comments isn't just isolated internet trolling. It's a documented rising trend. When commenters tell a world champion that her biology is TMI, they are actively participating in a systematic shaming that research proves leads to higher stress, behavioral isolation, and lower self esteem for every single young menstruator watching. Additionally, in the 2024 article, The Stigma of a Stain, The Gap in Menstrual Education, the cultural policing of menstruation is starkly documented in this article, which analyzed social media discourse on X, formerly known as Twitter, to evaluate how men publicly engage with the topic. The findings revealed a deeply ingrained rhetorical pattern where male commenters frequently inverted the narrative, positioning themselves as the actual victims of menstruators' biological cycles. Within these digital spaces, conversations were dominated by complaints of being harassed by the emotional vitality of menstruating individuals or expressions of profound embarrassment simply by being in proximity to the reality of a period. Now, the psychological and biological impact of this blame heavy language is both immediate and systemic. It actively forces menstruators to alter their daily behavior, such as covertly tucking tampons into sleeves or masking physical pain, solely to avoid triggering social discomfort in others. Ultimately, this defensive hypervigilance reinforces a toxic societal narrative that the female biological baseline is an inherently offensive burden that must be scrubbed from public view. This systemic silencing is further examined in the seminal study featured in the Paul Grave Handbook of Critical Menstruation Studies titled Menstrual Shame Exploring the Role of Menstrual Moaning. This research explores the concept of menstrual moaning, the persuasive cultural tendency to restrict conversations about periods exclusively to a lens of disgust, pain, or inconvenience. To illustrate this institutionalized bias, the study cites the landmark of 2015 case where Instagram removed a photograph by artist Rupi Kaur that depicted a visible menstrual leak, censoring the image under the corporate label of offensive content. This digital gatekeeping reflects a broader societal reality. When the study noting that 42% of menstruators have personally experienced direct period shaming, and a significant portion of the public, 62%, admits to being genuinely irked or grossed out by simply hearing the word period. The structural impact of this conditioning is profound when society and by extension major social media algorithms categorizes natural menstrual blood as inherently dirty or outside the norm. It effectively enforces a culture of concealment that silences menstruators, ultimately erecting a massive psychological barrier that prevents them from openly advocating for their basic health and medical needs. We know that that was a mouthful. We are going to go ahead and cut to our next commercial break, and we will be right back with you. Periods got you down? Kick cramps to the curb with Pilates for Periods. Our online program combines targeted Pilates, soothing yoga, calming meditation, and breath work to help you manage your menstrual cycle naturally. Feel stronger, calmer, and more in control. Reclaim your comfort. Visit Pilates for Periods YouTube page linked in the description of this episode and start your journey to a more manageable cycle today. Now, back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break. We hope that you enjoyed it. So, how do we dismantle these pervasive, harmful perspectives on a global scale? How do we take the data we just broke down from the rising shame in our school systems to the systemic silencing on our social media feeds and actually disrupt it? Family, it starts with a radical shift in our strategy. We have to move past basic awareness and step into intentional, unapologetic exposure. Awareness is passive. Awareness is knowing that a problem exists but keeping it at a polite distance. Exposure, on the other hand, is about changing the environment. It is about normalizing the biological reality of the human body until the disgust has nowhere left to hide. Let's break down three structural pillars required to dismantle the stigma globally. Number one, normalizing the vocabulary. First, we have to talk about the words coming out of our mouths. We must collectively agree to stop using childish or negative euphemisms like Aunt Flo, that time of the month, the crimson tide, or historical terms like the curse. When we rely on code words to describe a baseline biological process, we are actively validating the oppressive idea that the real clinical words are inherently shameful, dirty, or inappropriate for polite society. Every time you tuck a tampon into your sleeve like it's contraband or use a whispered euphemism, you are microdosing the shame cycle. We need to use the actual terms menstruation, uterine lining, menstrual blood, the luteal phase. When we switch to precise clinical language, we strip away the mystic taboo and replace it with biological authority. You aren't cursed. Your body is functioning exactly as it was designed to. Number two, engaging men as aligned allies. The second pillar is a heavy one, but it's a non negotiable. We must engage men as true allies in this space. Globally, the cultural architect of disgust is almost always rooted in a profound lack of early education. We have got to stop separating children when the reproductive system is introduced in school, as if half the population doesn't need to understand how human life is sustained. Menstrual equity is not a women's issue. It is a foundational household dynamic and a matter of basic public health. Let's be entirely candid here. If a father is grossed out by his daughter's period, or if a partner refuses to walk down the pharmacy aisle to pick up pads, that is a failure of the primary support system. That discomfort is a learned behavioral deficit and it passes psychological trauma down to the next generation. We need to fundamentally reframe this entire dialogue in our homes. This is not soft whispered girl talk to be hidden away in the bathroom. This is vital sign education. Just like we track blood pressure, heart rate, and sleep quality, the menstrual cycle is the fifth vital sign of overall systemic health. When men understand the data, they can protect the peace of the household. Then, number three, digital sovereignty and representation. Finally, we have to talk about digital sovereignty. As we discussed throughout this entire season, our digital footprint carries massive weight. The internet is currently a battleground where trolls and algorithms routinely try to suppress or shame our natural biology. But when we claim our digital sovereignty, we change the narrative by aggressively sharing our lived experiences, uploading our educational content, and normalizing the mind body mirror on powerful platforms like YouTube, Substack, and Instagram. We are actively creating a digital counter narrative to the toxic hate talk. We are showing up online as professional scientists, elite athletes, global creators, and executive leaders who also happen to navigate a monthly cycle. We are proving that your biology does not make you dramatic, subpar, or weak. It makes you incredibly adaptive, resilient, and structurally sound. When we broadcast our truth globally, we build a community that refuses to shrink. We are rewriting the global standard of dignity, one accurate word and one bold conversation at a time. Let's hold that standard as we head into our next segment. Now, ultimately, dismantling the global culture of disgust requires a seamless, multi generational pipeline of education and action. And it has to begin right at the kitchen table. It starts at home, where parents, guardians, and the adults in the daily household hold the foundational responsibility to openly educate both their sons and their daughters on the biological realities of the menstrual cycle, stripping away the taboo before society can ever implant it. From that solid foundation, our educational institutions must step up, moving past surface level reproductive summaries to provide rigorous, in depth menstrual and metabolic literacy at the school and university levels. But education without execution is an incomplete strategy. That is where proactive community organizations come in to take the raw awareness cultivated at home and in school and translate it into live initiatives, drives, and advocacy frameworks. By acting as the bridge between daily life and clinical care, these organizations provide healthcare professionals with the exact community data, valuable resources, and educational support systems they need to deliver comprehensive, dignified care. We change the world by changing how we talk about our bodies in our homes, standardizing that knowledge in our schools, and mobilizing our communities to support the medical system from the ground up. Now, we are going to cut to our final commercial break, and we will be right back with you.
Fly. Do you want? Yeah. Fly. Wanna fly. Do you wanna fly? Wanna fly. Let go of all the things that hold you down. Used to be so easy.
Now, back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break. We hope that you enjoyed it. Now, as we bring this intense data packed episode to a close, I want us to take a collective grounding breath together. We have covered an incredible amount of terrain today, from parsing the heavy social media hate talk faced by elite athletes like Alicia Baumgartner to evaluating national trends in the 2025 state of the period study, down to deconstructing the concept of menstrual moaning in critical academia. If your head is spinning with the weight of the data, let's ground ourselves right now. I want to leave you with a precise, actionable blueprint of what we unpacked today so you can carry this clinical currency out into your community with absolute confidence. Now, the structural recap. Stigma is a structural barrier. We must stop treating period stigma as an abstract social inconvenience or a mere mean comment on an Instagram feed. Labeling natural human biology as gross, dirty, or unclean is a deliberate gatekeeping mechanism. It is a barrier that directly prevents progressive policy change, stalls federal research funding, and restricts baseline healthcare access for the people who need it most. Next, language is your weapon. The vocabulary we use matters. Be intentional. When we rely on childish code words or defensive euphemisms, we are feeding the shame cycle. Shifting to bold clinical language, explicitly saying menstruation, luteal phase, or even uteral lining, is how we dismantle the TMI trap. It strips away the taboo and replaces social discomfort with biological authority. And then lastly, global advocacy is an absolute human right. Menstrual equity is not a localized trend, it is a global imperative. We must treat menstrual access and education as a baseline human right, ensuring that no individual is ever exiled physically from their classrooms or socially from their workplaces simply because of a natural biological cycle. As we discussed earlier, this structural revolution cannot be achieved through fragmented efforts. It requires a seamless pipeline of execution. It must begin at the kitchen table, where parents and guardians openly educate both male and female children. It must scale into our schools and universities through in depth mandatory health literacy. And finally, it must be mobilized by proactive wellness organizations who bridge the gap between our daily households and the healthcare professionals delivering valuable clinical information. We truly have the collective power to be the intentional architects of a brand new social environment. Together, we can build a world where a period is finally seen for exactly what it is, the unshakable fifth vital sign of a healthy, functioning human body. Now, your tools for the journey ahead. We never want to leave you with just a theory. We want to arm you with the tangible tools to execute this work in your daily life. First, do not forget to sign up for the KCA Breathwork Challenge. While we are out here actively fighting the external storm of societal stigma, we have to know how to quiet the internal storm raging in our nervous systems. This challenge isn't just a temporary fix for the month of May. The breathing scripts, the extended exhale audio tracks, and the vagal nerve stimulation techniques we are practicing inside the challenge are designed to be a permanent asset in your wellness toolkit. This is a practice you can utilize all year round to lower stress induced cortisol, downregulate systemic inflammation, and stabilize your metabolic baseline. Second, if you are looking for an immediate way to translate today's conversation into direct social impact, mark your calendars right now for this Thursday, May 28th, in honor of Menstrual Hygiene Day. We are hosting our Revel Care Menstrual Hygiene giveaway. We are mobilizing our sustainable goals and giving away period products that supports your womb. If you are listening globally, head over to our show notes to see how you can enter this initiative digitally. If you have any questions or concerns, we are still accepting listeners' mail. Feel free to comment on this episode, or for a more intimate or private conversation, email us at contact@kitcrampsass.org, which is listed in the description of this episode. Finally, if you want to ensure that you never miss an episode, a clinical breakdown, a community guide, or a lifestyle tool, hit that subscribe button right now. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channels at Kick Cramps Ass and at Pilates for Periods. Join our newsletter on Substack and stay deeply connected to all the resources, evidence based tips, and structural health education we drop every single week throughout all of our media outlets, including our website, www.kickcrampsass.org. This information is located in the description of this episode. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for holding space with us today. We are sending an immense wave of gratitude to our global community for tuning in. We manifest a positive, productive, and peaceful week ahead and menstrual journey ahead. And we will be speaking to you during our next episode on the next Menstruation Monday. Peace.